About now, we have the founder of the AI Capital, Lionel Sim, who's going to be running our discussion. He's going to be joined by Jason Bowman, who's the executive chairman of Ironclad. It's a very aggressive name, I like it. Joining him on stage also is going to be Girish Patil, who's the head of technology, generative AI, and ASEAN for Amazon Web Services. And finally, if there's a company that knows something about scale, it's MasterCard. And Huang Dong Hao is the Vice President of Research and Development there. And that is your panel, and they are going to tell us how to big up AI. All right, let's do this. Lionel, the stage is yours. Go get it. All right. And Dong Hao.
Awesome. Great crowd here. I know you guys have been here for about 2 days, and yeah, very interesting topic, enterprise AI, and something that I'm really passionate about. One important stats that I searched, is really enterprise AI is going to hit about $286 billion by 2026 alone, and we have the experts in the house who will showcase to you like what are the use cases about enterprise AI. We talk a lot about open source model, some of the challenges and governance in terms of trust. But first of all, I'd like to maybe get everyone to introduce themselves. Maybe start from Jason. Can you introduce yourself, like who you are and like what do you feel most excited about?
Yeah, I'm Jason. I'm executive chairman at Ironclad. I founded the company 11 years ago and recently transitioned to executive chair from being CEO. So I can spend more time doing this. I'd say like the thing that I'm thinking about the most is disrupting ourselves. We've been around for 11 years, and that's the thing I'm doing.
Yeah, thanks, Lionel. Thanks, Jason. So, my name is Girish. I have been with Amazon for more than 10 years, mostly focused on AI, deep learning, deep technology background. In my current role, I get to keep a track of how the technology is evolving, chips, models, new techniques. I'm lucky to be able to travel and meet a lot of interesting people at different conferences. So I advise AWS as well as AWS customers as well as different governments on AI adoption. So yeah, that's about me. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Dong Hao Huang. I work for MasterCard R&D team. I joined 14 years back as the first employee in R&D in Singapore and starting with the business from scratch, building the team, and over a decade, and then I decided to move on a global role leading emerging technology. Initially working with Web3 and blockchain technologies, but last couple of years I switched over to work on AI, machine learning, and generative AI. And very interesting is I'm also pursuing a part-time degree at doctorate degree at Singapore Management University. I'm very excited to bring the latest techniques in AI domain to our financial application development.
Awesome, thanks everyone. And obviously it's a very hot topic because when I walk around, there's a lot of like enterprise tech startups in terms of AI-wise. And I was talking to Jason just now, like in terms of how he scaled startups 11 years ago, since September 2014. So my first question is to Jason. What is the challenge in terms of scaling Gen AI from prototype to innovation in the legal tech arena? I know that you are a very strong leader and recently have transitioned to an executive chairman role and focus more on product. Maybe you can tell us from your experience, very extensive experience of how you look at a challenge and maybe one of the non-obvious challenge also in terms of scaling that.
So just for a bit of context, Ironclad, we're on the enterprise panel, so I can actually say our full category name without being embarrassed. Enterprise Contract Lifecycle Management, which means we help companies, and I think MasterCard is a great customer of ours, with the entire lifecycle of a business contract, from the creation to the negotiation to the signatures, and then the tracking and porting of that data to all of the places it needs to go. And of course, there's AI across all of that. And I think the real challenge and perhaps surprising thing that is for us, the thing that we spend a lot of time doing, is making sure that AI works with the technology that is already in the enterprise. So for lawyers, what that means is working deeply with Microsoft Word. And one of my favorite anecdotes about building enterprise AI is we have some really great engineers. We have folks from MIT. A lot of our founding team came from Palantir and early engineers at Palantir. And one of our best engineers, he said that the hardest computer science problem he has ever worked on is programmatically turning text white in a docx file format in the browser. So it gives you a sense of like where the real, if you're going into the enterprise, you really have to commit to deeply working with the tools that are already there and not just building from scratch on the architecture you might want to use. Because I kind of wish we didn't have to work on Microsoft Word and docx, but we do. And that's the surprising thing for me.
Yeah, I guess exactly. I think versatility and dynamism is so important, especially in this day and age where we have to pivot and we have to scale. The next question would be for Jaresh, like, what kind of architectural pitfalls or challenges do you see in enterprise AI, and how does successful ones move past them? We have discussed a lot about the open source model, as we have discussed just now. Like, maybe you can tell me more from your lens from the future, and also at the same time, like, what are the challenges and how to overcome them?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So, enterprises see such a massive potential in adoption of AI, but they have a huge legacy of their success. They can't squander it, right? They have to make sure that the business is not disrupted while adopting AI. So we do see massive adoption of AI to improve the bottom line, that is to improve the efficiency. We are seeing now very early adoption of AI to improve the top line, like to generate net new revenue. So both things are happening slowly but surely. That said, enterprises are a bit more cautious, and rightfully so, in adopting AI. So you and I were talking whether it's a skill set challenge. It's not a skill set challenge. Of course, if you are writing CUDA kernels and building models from scratch and all, that skill set is not so widespread. But most enterprise applications do not require the kind of skill set, and now there are a lot of great coding tools and all. So it's not a skill set issue at all. But what happens with this technology is that going from 0 to 90 is very easy, right? You can spin up something that looks cool, works fast, you can show it to your team. But when you start doing very thorough testing, to go from that 90 to 100, it takes a hell lot of time. And the way enterprises think, even if 99 things are right and 1 things are wrong, they will think 10 times before adopting it. So that is slowing down the adoption. I'm not saying that the caution is not warranted, but yeah, that's the scene of enterprise adoption. But that said, things are changing. So enterprises are adopting primarily for internal use cases. Slowly they will do it for external use cases once they are more confident. But at this stage it is mostly internal. B2C is much lesser. And there is also a lot of focus on open source. This is new. So far people were using Claude or Gemini or OpenAI, right? And these models are not fully under the control of enterprises, although platforms like Bedrock often a lot of data, security guarantees, etc. But enterprises like control, rightfully so again. So a lot of enterprises are exploring open source AI. My esteemed panelists had a great talk about it in the morning. And open source AI has become viable. It wasn't viable before, with DeepSeek, Qwen, and a lot of great hosting platforms. So adoption was slow, but we are seeing a massive J-curve about to happen with commercial models and particularly with open source models. Long answer, but yeah, I have to say all those things.
Amazing. You can see the passion in Jaresh when he explained open source model and innovation in enterprise AI. So over the Tonghao, I attended your this morning's session about how do you regulate in terms of open source model itself. One of the questions that I got a lot in terms of financial industry is how do you build trust in terms of Gen AI deployment, especially in a very highly regulated industry like yourself? And also, maybe you can share with the audience some of the best practices that you deploy AI in your industry.
Thank you for the question. The very first thing we start, even before we did try to use the generative AI, so we have established very strong foundational principles for data responsibility and ethical AI. We at Mastercard have been using AI for a long time. combating the fraud in real time. So we have tried to use build on top of the existing risk management principle to reinforce that, to be able to adapt that for our GenAI use cases. The second part is we believe that we need to have a very strong governance structure in enterprises. So our AI governance council is already in place for more than 5 years. It consisting of a team, cross-functional team of experts from data science, security, legal, and privacy, and which build a very big focus on asking not only can we build with generative AI, or we are also should we build with this kind of technology, and we also adopt the privacy by design for all the AI and data related products, which make it very important in the finance where the customer trust and compliance with regulatory compliance are very important to us.
Awesome, thank you. You mentioned a couple of different things, governance and user trust, and also at the same time, privacy by design, which is a very important word itself. It goes back to the topic because obviously enterprise AI, a lot of people would hear it has a very long sales cycle, and obviously we have different stakeholders at play. So I think the next question to the panel here is, who decides the budget for enterprise AI? Do you need a chief AI officer to play the role? Maybe over to Jason in terms of activity.
Yeah, I mean, so for us, we took kind of an unusual path to get where we are, which is we sold to an underserved buyer, the general counsel, and one that was considered to be sort of a bad buyer of software. But for us, what that meant is like we could become the #1 most important software solution to that buyer, the lawyer, the chief legal officer, the general counsel. And I think that my hot take would be that I think the end user is the right buyer because the end user understands what their requirements are the best. And we like selling to the lawyers because we can get deep with them, and on the first call, they can be asking questions about a deep understanding of a contract negotiation and like understanding of why a particular result that an AI is showing them is superior to a different one. So I would say that the right buyer is the end user.
So AI, at the end of the day, is a technology. So it needs to be cost effective, secure, scalable, reliable. So those things of traditional technology considerations equally apply. So CTO's office needs to be very much involved, very much attentive AI projects. But that said, AI has its own characteristics with respect to reliability. So unless end users are involved, different departments, and unless they sign off, AI projects will not be successful. So the end users are typically the real buyers or recommenders. They can tell their CTO that it can save us like 20%, 30%, increase our speed by such and such percent. So their involvement is required for sure. It cannot come top down. But we are seeing one trend that is not new, I would say, but it is worth noting down that a lot of organizations are setting up something called as AI Center of Excellence. So some people who are committed and passionate to roll out AI across the organization, because while this technology is very powerful, it has its rough edges. So yeah, there needs to be Center of Excellence, but the final approval and the budget will typically come from the respective departments. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thanks.
Yeah. But very interestingly, actually, I mentioned that Master has been using the AI for quite some time. Since the advent of the ChatGPT and Gen AI technologies, last year in April, Mastercard had a great big reorg to set up a new organization headed by our Chief AI and Data Officer. So combine our capability of AI and data together. And recently they also, as part of that big organization, they have a Center of Excellence for AI, but which I'm partnering with them. So recently we announced at Mastercard that we are going to build a series of product platform to support the agentic commerce. So with Mastercard, we call Agent Pay platform, which is led by that organization. And I'm very happy to be part of the whole journey to drive the future agentic commerce. You can imagine that we could have this, your agent could pay on your behalf without you worry about to buy some grocery at $100, right? So it's really has, right?
Awesome. I'm hearing a lot of very interesting views. One is the customer is the buyer. Second, set up your center of excellence in parts of the world to showcase your commitment. The third, as you mentioned, in terms of the converging of the roles between the CIO, Chief AI Officer, and everything. So this gets me to the next question in terms of what kind of best practice will you advocate to a startup founder who wants to start up something in the enterprise space? We have a lot of startup entrepreneurs in SuperAI, and we probably would love your perspective, both from a company perspective and from a startup leader perspective.
So my advice for a startup founder that wants to start to get to the enterprise is to not start in the enterprise. I think what really helped us have a lot of momentum in the enterprise is that we built up a really strong mid-market and small business practice first. And that helped us iterate on a much more rapid cycle. The enterprise cycles are long. I mean, it can take us a year to go through an enterprise sales cycle. Whereas the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses, it's like 30 days. And we're deployed 30 days later. So that rhythm for us as a product-focused company helped us build a really great product. And then over time, each year we would develop new capabilities that would allow us to make a little bit more progress into the enterprise. And then once we finally cracked in the enterprise, it was kind of like the floodgates opened. But I think to kind of getting battle tested in the mid-market helped us a lot, and that would be my advice to a startup founder.
So the question is, what startups should do to be able to sell to enterprises?
Exactly, yeah. If you're a startup founder, I want to start up an enterprise AI company. Should I not? What kind of advice should we give them?
Yeah. So, good question. So, selling to enterprises is actually hard, okay? Because they are very judicious, they will ask so many questions. And I advise a lot of startups, and they are very excited about the features, adding agents, how things are running, and how the output is beautiful and all. And all that is very valuable. That's why we care about AI so much. But enterprises, as I said, have a legacy to maintain, right? So they are going to quiz you a lot about not just cost. Enterprises generally pay well compared to the B2C customers, but they want to know about how reliable your product is, whether you are using guardrails in your AI application so that your AI doesn't say stupid things, or whether you are using the RAG properly so that your AI doesn't give unreliable answers, right? Or you have things like automated reasoning or tool call when the AI must do some simple mathematics to give the answer, right? So these are the kind of conversations that startups need to be prepared to have, and they also need to think about what the compliance team of the enterprise is going to think about it, or what the regulators are going to say about it. So for example, if you are trying to sell it to a bank, but if you cannot answer the typical questions that the banking regulators in that nation have, then you are not going to be able to successfully sell it to a bank, right? Bank is never going to buy a product that their regulators are not going to be happy about. So think of what regulators expect, right? So it is going to constrain you a bit, or to some extent, but if you ignore those constraints, you cannot buy or sell to enterprises. At Amazon, we have a program called as SaaS Factory, where we help you package your products well with all those considerations. But yeah, without those considerations being paid attention to, you cannot successfully sell to enterprises. So yeah, that's what I have seen all the time.
The interesting is that if you really want to sell your product to banks, then try join MasterCard Start Pass program. Actually, we have thousands of startups already within our programs, and recently we also have a very big focus on AI and technologies. So the whole startup program has been very successful. I think it has one of a lot of times of the best incubation program in the financial industry. So it's very well recognized. Normally we at MasterCard we put the company into the 6-month program where we link you to a lot of global banks which are all our customers, right? So this is the best way of doing the collaboration with MasterCard and to sell your product to banks. Normally at R&D, you will never a startup approach me. So I will always say, okay, if you don't join StartPass, then I cannot work with you. So basically, that's my recommendation.
It's amazing. Obviously, there's a lot of programs out there to facilitate startups who want to venture into the enterprise space, but we can also know that there are challenges out there, like what Jason has mentioned in terms of like regulation and policy framework. Obviously, it leads me to the kind of next question in terms of with the rise of open source model like DeepSeek R1, the cost of compute, the cost of designing an architecture has went down significantly. I'd love to understand from the panelists in terms of how do you view open source model and how do you see the evolution of open source model affecting enterprise AI? Maybe Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the trend that we're observing with peer companies and that our customers ask about. I think for us, we have historically been pretty closely aligned with OpenAI. We're sort of backstage, but Y Combinator is a big startup accelerator in the United States, and Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was the president of Y Combinator when we went through it. So like we've had a long-standing relationship with the company, and they've been a great partner of ours. But it is something that we're constantly evaluating, and our teams are always looking at definitely what the best model for the job is.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we are partnered with Anthropic. Amazon has a big investment in Anthropic. They train their models with Amazon chips. They are available on Amazon's Bedrock platform. And I absolutely love Anthropic. Like chatting with you feels like chatting to a very sensitive and intelligent human. But that said, that's a closed model. We run it on Bedrock. We offer a lot of security guarantees, and there are many customers who are very, very happy. Some of the most regulated customers with that. But at the same time, in terms of capabilities, open source has caught up a lot, right? So open source actually always had a promise, but it was quite disappointing till very recently, right? So open source people are talking about open source being an answer to closed source and all, since at least when ChatGPT was launched and Llama 1 got leaked. But that promise didn't come to reality because open source lagged closed source in quality. But thanks to a lot of great labs in China, it had changed, right? DeepSeek R1, amazing model. Their May update, amazing. Twin models, very good price to performance ratio. So models are great, but there was one more thing you need in addition to the models. That is the middleware or the hosting infrastructure on which the models can run successfully. So running open source models actually was expensive because you can never run it probably as efficiently as the big labs can run. But that has also changed because of great people at VLLM, SGLang, etc. So we do see large enterprises, governments who want to have complete visibility to their AI platform, investing serious money and people power in exploring open source models. And given the fact that open source has reached to such an extent that even if it didn't progress any further at all, even if it freezes in time here, still those models are good enough for many, many use cases. So I generally like to give example of Perplexity. How many of you use Perplexity here? Can I see a raise of hands? Yeah, quite a few. So others who haven't used it, please download it. Amazing app, thank me later. And I always choose DeepSeek as a model on Perplexity, or I use its deep research feature. Brilliant, brilliant experience, right? And it is powered by an open source model. So open source has definitely arrived. That is what I would say.
Yeah, to look at Mastercard product development, we, like Girish mentioned, we really want to have full control of what we are building. So whenever we are trying to touch our own proprietary data, we always try to evaluate use our open source models. So we probably initially, this morning I talked about the product onboarding assistant, the product developed by Mastercard R&D. Initially we use very big models like DBRX and also the Llama 405 billion parameters. It's very huge and very slow and also very expensive. But after we try to create domain adaptation data specifically for our product onboarding assistant tasks, and we managed to get the performance 10% better than the biggest models ever. But also, we managed to cut down the cost by 4 times and increase the speed by 5 times. So that's in that kind of approach, we believe that open source models are very good for enterprise applications, especially for the vertical application. You have very specific goals, tasks. Just try to create your data, fine-tune it, and then you will get the best of the performance and the efficiency, and of course the cost effectiveness.
Thanks for the input. Very huge velocity of change in terms of how open source can bring to enterprise companies in terms of high performance, lower costs, at the same time in terms of streamlining your operation. So yeah, the next question will be like more of like if you have this, if you look at the future of enterprise AI, like what are the things that you are most looking forward to in the next 5 to 10 years?
For me, it's getting really deep on the verticals. I think like Gen 1 has been just take the benefits that the foundational models provide and translate them for a particular audience. I think we're going to see that trend increase tenfold, and we're going to see much more interesting and deep use cases for the different verticals. And so I'm excited for verticalization and add apps that continue to like exist at that layer.
So AI probably has been adopted the most by individuals, right? Like the students, indie developers, and all that. Enterprises, as I said, have a legacy to maintain, so they are a bit slow to adopt, rightfully so. So most of the adoption so far has been focused on the bottom line, that is to improve efficiency of code development, of customer support, because you can have immediate predictable gains there, right? But very few enterprises as of today are using AI for the top line in the sense to improve revenue, to get more customers, or to make more money per customer, right? So I keep giving example of this Robinhood Wealth Advisor, which is an FSI application built with help of AI to advise people on how to invest, and they will take a cut based on whether the investment is successful or not. But the point is, this creates a net new revenue stream for the enterprise. I'm hoping in next 2 years we'll see a lot of that. Right now the focus has been on bottom line efficiency, but we'll also see there are going to be some very bold companies like Mastercard, supported by people like Jason, who will be willing to take risk and use AI to get net new customers and get more revenue out of those customers by giving them great service. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about for next 2 years.
So I will hope that, like I mentioned, the agent pay platform we are trying to build. I'm really hoping that in the future you can have your glass is very very smart. It kind of agent running in your glass or any device you have, and then it can negotiate the agent with any any merchant, for example, you take a look at this TV show and say, I like it, and then the agent can send my favorite video to the VTTV to show, hey, this is how cool it is. And eventually I say, I can say, hey, yes, this is good. I really like it. I want to get it purchased by just talk to my glass, and I get everything sorted, and then the TV will be shipped to my home, right? So that's kind of a vision. You think about all the agents can secure will be under your control and running your edge device with cloud infrastructure to facilitate the secure communication across different agents. That will be something I will be very excited.
Awesome. Very fantastic view of like how you guys look at the futuristic view of enterprise AI. You know, from not just looking at cost cutting, but at the same time in terms of streamlining your operations. And I think it's really about productizing like, a lot of what you are having out there in a way. And I think the most important question like I get like in terms of like building the ecosystem wise is how enterprise AI engender trust among users, and also based on the latest report from the CIO magazine, user trust in terms of generative AI applications has fallen in a way. So yeah, I just want to get a take from you guys in terms of like how do you look at trust in the age of AI, and how does enterprise AI is able to engender that in their product management, in their user deployment, and also privacy by design, which is a very good term coined by Dong Hao. So maybe Jason, over to you.
Yeah, and I think this is so foundational, like to connect to your question on advice for startup founders as well. If you want to sell the enterprise, trust is foundational. It's not like one thing you're scored on. It is like a test that must be passed to sell on other things. And you know, one of the ways that we do that is by showing the reasoning. So we were one of the first interfaces that would show you in real time sort of what the system was thinking and how it got to its result. Because when we talk to our user, the lawyer, and they're like, well, the result's good, but I kind of want to see how the AI got there, because one, it's going to help me prompt better next time. And two, I want to see like what it did or did not evaluate to get to this end result. So I think we're starting to see some like best practices emerge, and of course if you use a model like O3, you can actually see the reasoning now in that interface. I think that trend is going to continue and as we find ways to build that feedback with the system. So.
Yeah, so that was a very good point. So what he mentioned is they show users how the model came to that particular advice, the thought process. So one of the reasons people absolutely love DeepSeek and it went viral is because DeepSeek thinks out loud. You see the thought process. It looks a lot like human thought process. It's entertaining, but it also increases the user confidence in the answer. So that is made possible by other commercial models as well, like Claude 3.7. In addition to that, backing up the answer, like every assertion or fact in the answer with a document reference is very important. Like Perplexity does it, so everything that it will say, if you ask it a medical question, it will point it to the research paper from where that answer came, right? So the users can verify. So that is absolutely a must. But apart from that, there are some additional techniques. So for example, Amazon launched something called as automated reasoning. So that is one of the ways to automatically ensure that the model does not hallucinate. There is also a lot of research happening at our partner Anthropic. They are trying to figure out how to detect through the activation states itself whether the model is hallucinating or not. So please do read about these things like guardrails, automated reasoning, and what Anthropic is doing. That will allow you to build applications whose answers will be trustworthy. But that said, in my humble opinion, even the user mindset needs to change, the enterprise mindset needs to change, and regulator mindset needs to change. If a system can make a mistake like at 0.01% times, just because it made mistake that rarely, you cannot throw away the system. So there is this very infamous case of Air Canada. So Air Canada had a chatbot, and a person was asking questions about some refund or cancellation policy, and the model hallucinated, and it confirmed that there was a cancellation policy that didn't exist, right? So rightfully judges held Air Canada accountable to honor that policy. They could have avoided it by using RAG, automated reasoning, thinking out loud kind of techniques. But that said, no matter what you do, no matter what you do, okay, this technology is not going to be 100% perfect. Okay, it will be 99.99999% accurate with all these things, but there is always going to be that some probability of a failure. So in that sense, this technology is like any other technology. Aircraft engine fails, right? So the user mindset need to evolve, enterprise CIO mindset need to evolve, and all of us need to work together with the regulators to bring them to this appreciation that let us not throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Yes, so like Girish mentioned that the guardrails are very important, and Mastercard will actually be very focused on building the guardrails for all the AI, including generative AI applications. So the one thing is very clear is that we want we want to leverage the power of the generative AI, but we really want to make sure that when we're building the products, even though there's a 0.001% of a failure, that failure will not cause a big damage to our enterprise applications or to our consumer car. Right? So imagine if you have been kind of recently we did some research on the invoice reconciliation, and we realized because of the hallucination of large language models, you are updating the invoice ID 12334, but it actually updated the agent update 123334. So it's kind of repetition problem I mentioned this morning, and that might have very bad effect. Let's say because just the first transaction might just be $10, the second one might be $10,000, right? So that will be a big impact to your business. So all these parts need to be safeguarded in the agentic AI time frame, so which is previously never been seen. Without that being solved not from the model perspective, but from the foundation software engineering perspective and the guardrail perspective, then we won't be able to safely roll out for scale uses.
It's amazing. It's really a masterclass in enterprise AI. I'm learning so much. That trust is really the foundation of all generative AI deployment. So the last question I want to throw to the panelists is like, what is the last kind of message that you want to send to the crowd about enterprise AI, hopes, aspiration, opportunity, solutions?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's an exciting time. I was telling to someone, being from the legal tech vertical, legal tech feels like it's where fintech was 10 to 15 years ago, and it's such a big space, but it still feels like such early days, and so I think it's just very exciting to be in a place like this where there's community being built around those transitions.
So what I would say is first figure out how the great looks like. What I mean by that is install Perplexity. I'm not a Perplexity salesman. I don't get any incentive for saying that. But you will see how a well-designed app looks like. Use their deep research feature. Use Perplexity Lab feature. So it will use Python to do simple mathematics. The model will not do even simple mathematics by itself to ensure 100% accuracy. So look at how the good looks like and set yourself that benchmark. You can build those kind of applications for your enterprise customers or for yourself if you are an enterprise. All the tools are available from various players. We have all the tools available in Bedrock. So yeah, look at what the great looks like and go for the skies.
Yeah, as previously one of our Mastercard executives said that the biggest risk of AI is not using it. So like Girish mentioned, download whatever apps. Personally, I have Perplexity, have ChatGPT, have Claude, all this in my pocket already. Right? So this not only help me to do all this kind of writing, also all the research my research papers, I also try to leverage to polish my languages because English is not my first language. From enterprise perspective, of course, they try to find the best model, not the bigger model. That's more vertical model for your applications.
That's awesome. And thank you so much to all the panelists, and obviously hope you guys have learned a lot about enterprise AI, and I really value your opinion and contributions. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause to the panelists. Thank you.
All right, good stuff.